Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Everyday Excellence. I'm your host, Todd Baldwin, and today's guest is John T. Hewitt, a legendary franchise entrepreneur and the founder and CEO of Loyalty Brands. John is best known for helping build Jackson Hewitt and for founding Liberty Tax Service, two of the most recognized names in tax prep franchising. Over the course of more than 5 decades in business, he has built, scaled, and led franchise systems across North America and has become known for his focus on systems, strategy, and winning in business. John is also the recipient of multiple awards and honors, including Ernst & Young Virginia Entrepreneur of the Year 2003, International Franchise Association Entrepreneur of the Year in 2005, Accounting Today Top 100 Most Influential People in 2006. John has also helped create over 1,000 millionaires in his career, and today he still enjoys mentoring and helping people start businesses. John, welcome to the show.
My pleasure, Todd. Thanks for having me.
Well, you bet, man. I've been really looking forward to visiting with you. So I thank you so much for being here. Let's dive in, John. What do you say?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, let's do it. So tell me, John, you get this incredible background in the tax business. So tell me what drew you to this tax business back in 1969.
I was blessed. I was just 20 years old and at the University of Buffalo, and I took a tax course from H&R Block so I could work there and loved it. And biggest blessing was at 20 years old, I found out what I wanted to do the rest of my life. So I know I've interviewed thousands of people, and most people at all ages don't know what they want to be when they grow up. So I've been in, this is on April 15th, it'll be my 57th completed tax season.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is a big blessing. At such a young age to discover, hey, what you love and this is what I want to do. Because there's so many people that are just in a day-to-day grind and really can't stand what they do. So what made you know? What did something like strike you that, hey, this is it? Or
It just felt good because of several reasons. Number one, it's about the law, and I love to debate and argue, and so that fit right into my skill set and my enjoyment. Secondly, it's mathematically orientated, and I'm incredibly good at mathematics, especially like algebra and multiplying, adding, subtracting, dividing large numbers. And then the most beneficial thing is the thing that really drew me to it was helping people. And most people consider doing their taxes like going to the dentist. So it's real rewarding to make it less painful for the general population.
it's funny you mentioned the paying taxes or talking to a CPA. I actually met with my CPA today. So tax day is around the corner, right? So well so how many years were you at H&R Block?
I was there 12 years.
12 years. Okay. Was there one thing or a couple things that back in those days that you learned that helped shape the rest of your career from HR and Block?
Yeah. Well, Todd, you're not old enough to remember, but in the 70s, it was a world without computers, desktops. So my dad actually was a CFO of a public company, and he bought one of the first Apple computers 50 years ago.
Okay.
And it's so old, it's in the Smithsonian, but he liked it better than the mainframe that was running his public company. And so he decided we should computerize taxes. So it was really at my father, there's no other human being that could have convinced me to leave H&R Block. I was doing very well, managing 250 offices, 30 years old, happy. But to the opportunity to work with my dad just won up.
So that was the influence. That was one of my questions. That what the confidence that helped you or to build Jackson Hewitt, was this side by side with your dad?
Well, I did all the work, but he was always an investor, and he was the we founded a computer company first, and he led the computer company. And when I bought Mel Jackson, he and I invested in. We brought in some other people that had worked with me, at H&R Block and friends and family. And we bought a company called Mel Jackson in Virginia Beach, Virginia, from his widow. That there was 6 locations. And I decided H&R Block had 9,000 locations, and I decided Mel Jackson's would have 9,001 locations. So we would add 8,995 offices.
And did you hit that number? I know you had
No,
thousands.
we no, Jackson Hewitt got to 6,000 and became a billion-dollar company.
Gotcha, gotcha. What? Because so you guys pioneered the electronic filing, correct? As far
We
as
were, yeah,
one of the
about,
pioneers in that space.
yeah, when we left and we opened Jackson Hewitt in '82, we changed Mel Jackson's name to Jackson Hewitt. We're the only computerized company in the country,
Wow.
and H&R Block gave us a 2-year head start. They didn't believe in computers, and so when the IRS rolled out electronic filing, they came to us for cooperation and support. And so I was one of the key initiators of electronic filing. In fact, at Jackson Hewitt, several states, we wrote the software for several states, New York and Oregon, to receive electronic filing. So we were way ahead of the time.
You guys were way ahead. It's incredible. I'm just sitting there and blown away that there was a day when, especially a company like H&R Block didn't believe in computers, right? So
Yeah,
it's
they wrote in there, they were Fortune 500 company and with 9,000 locations. And they wrote in their annual report in 1993, they said, people ask us why we don't computerize. And we said, well, why should we? We tried it. It doesn't save us any money. Customers don't care. We're never going to computerize. So
it's a
that's how visionary H&R Block was.
well, it's a funny how things work. So it sounds like it was a huge blessing, all right, that you were able to pivot and have the confidence to pivot and start Jackson Hewitt after you acquired that original firm. So you scaled from 6 to over 6,000, right, with Jackson Hewitt location. So biggest lesson you learned from scaling, John, in that process.
Well, one thing that was one of the biggest mistakes I ever made in my life was when we bought Mel Jackson, we bought 6 locations, and that was in August of 1982. By January, we had 11 locations, and then the second year, January, we had 15, and then going into the third year, we had 22. And so to go from 6 to 22 in 2.5 years, that's pretty good. I mean, most people would be happy with that. But remember, my goal was 9,000,
9,001.
right? 9,001, and at this rate, I would be 1,000 years old before I get there.
Right.
So I hadn't franchised, and which was stupid. I mean, H&R Block when I joined H&R Block in 1969, they were 95% franchise. I said, "What am I thinking here?" And so we immediately started franchising and grew by leaps and bounds after that. Within 2 years, we went from 22 locations to over 200.
Okay. Wow. In 2 years,
Right.
22 over 200. Franchise model worked, and obviously you must have you like that model, right? So
I love it. I've done it ever since. And so every company I've founded since then is a franchise company.
right. What is it about the franchise model that you love?
Well, franchisors don't like to say it this way, but because it sounds uh, heavily in favor of the franchisor. But I get very smart, talented people to act like owners to pay me to work for me. So if I have an employee, I have to pay them, and they act like employees.
Right.
But if I get a franchisee, then they pay me to work for me,
Right.
and they act like owners.
Right.
In all the thousands of employees I've had in my life, less than 5% act like owners, but most of my owners act like owners. And so I get people who are acting like owners who are um, have great initiative, great work ethic, in the American dream and helping me shoulder to shoulder to build the best system on the planet. It's when it works, it's a dream.
Right. I love that concept too, because you are correct. Employees don't think like owners because they're not an owner, right? And so you can't expect them to. I think it's a we all do that as early entrepreneurs. Like, I want you to think like an owner, but they have no skin in the game, and they just don't. And a lot of times, I think if they were wanted to think like an owner or be an owner, they would maybe take that entrepreneurial leap, as I call it, and have their own business. But when they are a franchisee, they now have skin in the game, and so they got that owner mindset, and you're getting paid on royalties. So I see why you like it. It makes I love that explanation. So makes sense to me. What year? I was looking back. You've got so much info, just doing some history and things of that nature. I know. Um, Eventually, you guys sold Jackson Hewitt, or went. What year was that?
Sold it in 1997, 15
97.
year,
Okay.
15 years after we started.
15 years after you started, and you had to you had to not compete. So I'd read you started a focus up in Canada before you guys actually started and founded Liberty Tax.
Yeah, well, actually, um, I was blessed again that Jackson Hewitt had never gone to Canada. And having done tax returns in Buffalo when I started, I did Canadian returns. I knew that H&R Block was very successful there. And I couldn't open a office within 25 miles of a Jackson Hewitt office, which was virtually the entire United States.
Right.
So it enabled us to open Liberty Tax in Canada. So within 3 years, we're the second largest uh, tax firm in we had been in U.S. with Jackson Hewitt. Now in Canada, it's just us and H&R Block. It's H&R Block and Liberty Tax, and that's still the way it is today. Jackson Hewitt hasn't gone to Canada, so Liberty Tax is still a strong number two and a top 100 retail chain in Canada. So I founded one of the top 100 in US and then one of the top 100 in Canada. And then I came back to the United States and to compete against my own name, my own software, my own people. And that was challenging. Now H&R Block had 9,000 locations and Jackson Hewitt had 6,000 locations. And so guess how many locations I decided I would have?
Well,
Ni
did you do the
nine thou
math? Do what?
nine 9,001.
5001 again.
So, we I g we never got there, but we got to 4,000 quicker than all but all but a handful of franchisors ever, top 10 fastest growing franchisor ever at Liberty Tax. We grew faster than H&R Block and Jackson Hewitt combined.
Wow, that's incredible. Um, when you started Liberty Tax, right? Well, actually, we talked a little bit about Liberty Tax, but was there anything other than you sold Jackson Hewitt, had an opportunity in Canada because they weren't there? Was there anything else that said, "Hey, I want to start another tax franchise," that led you? Like, why, other than I can just do this, we'll rinse and repeat?
Yeah, we actually I took my top 5 people with me from Jackson Hewitt over to Liberty, and we actually didn't know that we would get back in tax. But what happened is the owners of Jackson Hewitt, H&R Block continued to fumble, and the owners of Jackson Hewitt were fumbling the ball and not doing a good job. So we decided to go back into the tax industry. And I long ago realized that in every industry there's room for at least two major players. There's always a Burger King or a Ford or there's always a number two player. And then I realized that almost always there's a number three player too. So there is a niche for a third player in tax, and that's why came back in the United States, and actually I feel like sending thank you cards to H&R Block and Jackson Hewitt for all the things, all the ways they helped me in competing with them.
Well, I'm a big believer in competition too, especially when you get into that field of maybe a niche or big players. I guess I learned that watching my dad in his entrepreneurial journey. He was in the yellow page business, and him and his best friend, they were one of the pioneers of what we call the independent publisher. They were the ones that took on the Southwestern Bells of the world. When back in the day, you had one telephone directory in a city. Definitely room for another player, and really a lot of their success just came from, offering better features and benefits and pricing, against the big monopoly, right? So plenty of room in the market, not only for 2 directories, but as that industry grew before I guess the internet killed it, there got to be maybe 3 or 4 directories in the market, and all those books were still profitable, but that kinda resonated when you said there's definitely room for 2 and even 3, players in that market, and I love how you sent thank you cards. That made me smile to your previous employer. So, John, you've worked with all these businesses and all these entrepreneurs, right? I'm curious what your thoughts are. What separates entrepreneurs who win long term from those who burn out?
There's someone, I've been asked that question a zillion times and in my 57 years. And because I've built franchises with 11,000 offices and almost 6,000 franchisees and people say, what's the secret? And really I did a webinar on I realized after many years of answering the question that there's more than one thing. So I'm going to tell you the number one most important thing. But I did a webinar on the top 10 ways to keep growing exponentially and to keep and not never stop. And so it's an hour presentation. So we don't have an hour, but your listeners can go on my website and get a copy of it at loyaltybrands.com. Get a copy of how to grow exponentially. It's an hour presentation. But I will tell you the number one secret, and that is that God doesn't place anyone here to skate through. We all face adversity, and the winners, and it's about drive and it's about perseverance. The winners, everyone gets knocked out. I've never met a human being that just skated, had this easy life. Never. And everything worthwhile requires hard work. But it's perseverance. They got to kill me to stop me.
Right.
And so that's the attitude. If you have a, win or die philosophy, that's the key to that's the number one key. But there are really I I I always come up with my top 10 because of the 10 commandments, but actually now it's 13. And I still call it top 10 because if in the football conference you can call it the Big Ten when you have 19 teams, then I can call it the top 10 when I have 13 reasons to grow that you grow exponentially.
Right. No, I love it. I'll have to go check that out. I did not see that on your site, but I will go back and find it. And
I'll have Danielle send it to you, Todd.
okay, no, that would be great. You kind of answered this, but I'm curious, what traits of the best franchise owners you've worked with? What are the traits that they have?
Well, there's one thing that's black and white, and then I'll tell you the second most important thing. But by far, my job is to give you the best system on the planet, and I've been doing this for 57 years. So if you come into tax and think for example, and you think you know better than John Hewitt, you're an idiot, right? I've been doing this 57 years before you were thought of. And 56 years ago, I was doing 10,000 returns, managing 10 offices. So I've learned something more I know more in my little finger than you might ever know. So my job is to give you the best system on the planet. Your job is to listen and follow that system. Now, you would think with all of my experience, and half of the people that have joined me over the years didn't know anything about tax. They never done a tax return professionally and and never been in a tax office professionally, and except as a customer, maybe. Now, guess how many people listen to me and follow my advice 100%? Zero, zippity doo dah. No one listens. So it's the hardest thing to do for human beings. Remember, the first people that didn't listen were Adam and Eve. And if you're not going to listen to God, you're not going to listen to John Hewitt, I guarantee. So it's pass fail. You listen 98 or 99%, and you're a superstar. If you listen less than 90%, you're going to fail. So it's that simple. But that and it's unbelievable that people can fail. Why would you pay me not to listen to me? You can not listen to me for free, right? But after that, that's pass fail. But another important trait is hunger and drive. And there's one trait that separates the people, and that's that first generation immigrants do better on average than Americans because they're hungrier and they're more driven. So that once you're following the system, then other things matter. And part of that is drive and get up and go. There when you're an entrepreneur, you don't have a boss telling you got to be there at 8 a.m. You gotta if it is to be, it is up to me. The 10 most important two-letter words. If it is to be, it is up to me. And as an entrepreneur, you gotta embrace that phrase.
I agree. It is up to it's up to you to go and make it happen. I love the just to persevere, believe in yourself, keep fighting. I always you talked about when you were talking about us, it reminded me why I like to talk to entrepreneurs so much because even though we can have two totally vast different businesses, we own a business, so we have a lot of things in common, right? And we can if you're open and honest, can have those good conversations with other entrepreneurs, then you usually go away, from my experience, going away feeling better about yourself and what you're doing because you realize, hey, they have the same struggles that I do. They're going through the same things that I'm going through. And when I talk to entrepreneurs, we usually talk more about struggles than we do wins, right? Because we're all facing that. So I love that. I think your number one is dead on. And you just got to keep going and keep fighting, believe in yourself. I love that. I agree. People don't listen, but if you just listen and follow systems, I think you always have a great chance to have success in business. God, I could talk to you all day. I do have some more questions, but what a wealth of information. So let's talk. Let's move a little bit forward. Obviously, your story in the tax industry is just incredible, second to none. I mean, what a huge accomplishment. Two of the biggest names out there. So Liberty Tax is like, I mean, heard it my whole life, right? And so be talking to a guy that founded is pretty darn cool. Let's talk about loyalty brands, right? Your newest, I guess, latest thing that you're doing. Um, what made you create it? Why did you create it? And what problem does it solve?
Well, when I had a non-compete at Jackson Hewitt, I could go to Canada. But when I had a non-compete at Liberty Tax, I couldn't go to Canada. I couldn't go US or Canada. So I took my top members of my team again, and we started over again. We said, what industries are the fastest growing? And franchise systems, because we're not going to be able to do tax for a few years. So we got into pets and construction. And the pets is by far the fastest. With my Zoom and Grooming, mobile grooming not only is our pets taking off, but mobile is taking off. There's everything's going mobile these days. There was 20 years ago, there's no such thing as Grubhub or Uber Eats and 50 years ago, the only pizza firm that delivered was Domino's. And now you can't be in the pizza business without delivery. So pets is growing by leaps and bounds, and tax continues to grow. We got back into tax, but it plods along, grows 1% a year. But pets grows 13, 14, 15% a year.
I noticed that. Okay, I noticed you had a lot of pet brands on your website. So I was curious as to why. It's because of the growth opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
Again, I've been in taxes 57 years.
sure.
And it's recession resistant or recession proof, grows 1% a year. You got to file your taxes even during recession. But pets is just so much more exciting and so much more fun. And as I said earlier, people don't think of doing their tax returns going to the dentist. People love it when you bring their pet back to their door and beautiful, beautiful and happy.
I love when our dog goes and gets groomed. I got to agree with you there. Sadie, she looks great, smells great. So, 100%. John, what advice would you give someone who wants to own a business but has never franchised before?
Well, that's a great, um, that's a very important point because 2/3 of Americans want to be self-employed, but only half of them can be self-employed. So, put your toe if you want to be self-employed, in several of my businesses, you can do it part-time. You can keep your day job. But, I've seen so many people fail that thought they wanted to be self-employed, but they don't have the risk tolerance, they don't have the drive, they don't have the get up and go, they don't have management skills, and so you gotta be careful and when we analyze people, whether they should become a franchisee, first thing we do is, should you be self-employed? Secondly, what industry should you be in? Thirdly, if it's this industry, is it with us or another company? And then fourthly, is this the right time in your life? So those are the four things to think about is, are you meant to be self-employed? Is this the right industry? Is this the right company? And is this the right time?
Got it. I find a lot of people do want to own a business, have the aspiration to own a business, but I find a lot of people stop when they get on the edge of that cliff and it's time to jump, right? And actually start, take that leap of faith, right? And actually start a business. It's scary as heck, for sure. So, but I've talked to so many people, man, I'd love to own a business. I'm going to do this, do that. And they just never do. And it's like the longer they go in life, create a lifestyle, I think it even becomes harder. It's not for everybody, but I don't think I would ever go back. I have no desire to go back and I guess have a boss or work for someone. I don't
Yeah,
mind partners. I've had partners my whole life. Currently don't have any, but that's still, if you have partners, you still own the business or you own a piece of it. You're still, paddling your own boat, so to speak. So, couple of questions, as we kind of wrap up here. I'm curious. Started your career 1969. Here we are, 2026. What are you passionate about now?
I love our mission statement, and I encourage everyone to steal it, and I will share it with everyone.
Well, go
It's
ahead and share it
having
with us.
having, but I mean, you can use my mission statement for everyone. I will actually let them use it. It's having fun, improving lives.
Having fun and grooming lives. Yep.
Improving lives. On Monday morning, if you're going to work and you're not looking forward to it, you're going to the wrong place. Life is too short. So you gotta have fun and find something you love to do. As you said earlier, most people in this country don't like what they do.
Right.
With them, it's if you're living a thank God it's Friday, like that's I feel bad for you. I feel really bad for you. And and then secondly, there's nothing more rewarding than improving people's lives. There's nothing I've ever done in my life that is as joyful as improving other people's lives. And I've created 1,100 millionaires. I've had almost 6,000 franchises, and they had hundreds of thousands of employees. I've changed tens of thousands of people's lives, improved their lives. So that's extremely rewarding.
That has got to feel incredibly awesome to know that the impact you had on other people's lives, right?
That's my number one achievement.
Wow. That is, I like that. It's powerful. Um, John, any books you're reading right now that you'd recommend?
I read about a nonfiction book every couple weeks. Um, Still, I've read thousands in my career, but not. I love everything. Dale Carnegie, everything. Peter Drucker. I Those are the only two authors I agree with 100%. Peter Drucker and Dale Carnegie. For virtually every business book I get at least one or two good takeaways.
Yeah. Yeah. Carnegie, how to win people or how to influence people when I'm
How to
messing up
make
the title.
friends and influence people. I think
Yes, yes, that's it. I've read that. I read that many, many years ago. Any podcasts out there that you'd recommend? Do you listen to podcasts?
I don't. I'm too busy.
Too busy. It's it's kind of the Well, the way they're out there. I find some that I like, but I still enjoy just old fashioned reading. Right? What's wrong with that? Just picking up a book and or reading it, on your tablet. But still really enjoy that as well. Well, John, we have been going a little over 30 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. But I cannot thank you enough for being on the show. And if people want to reach out and find your work, what's the best way to find um, you and your brands and to learn a little bit more about you and your story?
LoyaltyBrands.com.
LoyaltyBrands.com. Well, John, thank you so much for being on the show. What an honor to get to meet you, spend a little time, and just hearing your story. I can't thank you enough.
Todd, my pleasure. And I'll have Danielle send you that webinar.
Oh, it'd be great. Be great. I'll pass it on to my, I'll send it out to my network as well. So look forward to listening to that webinar. And John, I hope I can speak to you or keep in touch with you down the road.
Love to.
All right. Have a great rest of your day, John. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.